rabbinic literature, the existence of God is not defended, but taken for granted. It is an axiom, a fundamental truth that requires no proof because it precedes all reasoning. Scripture offers no philosophical arguments to convince people that there must be a God. It simply speaks from the certainty that He exists. Out of reverence for the third commandment, the rabbis avoid the direct use of the holy name and speak of the Creator, or of Him who spoke and brought the world into being. These titles express that God's existence inevitably follows from the existence of the universe itself. The world is not its own origin. It bears the marks of a will that has shaped it. A midrashic account of the encounter between Moses, Aaron, and the Pharaoh illustrates this line of thought. When the Egyptian king asks, "Who is your God, that I should listen to his voice?" they do not reply with abstract arguments, but with a description of the creative and sustaining power that is visible everywhere. God existed before creation and will continue to exist when the world ceases to be. He formed man and breathed the breath of life into him. He stretches out the heavens, lays the foundations of the earth, splits mountains, causes rain to fall, makes grass grow, and forms the embryo in the womb. The world is full of His power. Whoever sees the world sees the hand of the Maker. Thus, the question of God's existence is answered by reality itself. The rabbis associate this idea with Abraham, who, according to one tradition, came to the realization of God not through revelation, but through reasoning. In a midrash, he is brought before King Nimrod because he refuses to worship idols. When Nimrod commands him to worship fire, Abraham replies that water is stronger because it extinguishes fire. When Nimrod then orders him to worship water, Abraham points to the cloud that carries the water. When the king then directs him to the cloud, Abraham points to the wind that scatters the cloud. And when Nimrod commands him to worship the wind, Abraham says that man is stronger, for the breath of man carries the wind within it. Thus his reasoning leads ever further back, until only an ultimate cause remains, a creator who forms man and gives him breath. Another tradition emphasizes not the reasoning, but inner awareness. Abraham, says the Midrash, saw the Holy One by himself. No one taught him. Job is described in the same way. He cherished the words of God in his bosom, a reading supported in some traditions by the Septuagint and the Vulgate. King Hezekiah is also mentioned as someone who knew God of his own accord, as is the Messiah King. These stories suggest that the awareness of God can be derived not only from nature, but also from the depths of the human soul. Another legend tells that Abraham was hidden as a child because astrologers had warned Nimrod that a child would be born who would overthrow his kingdom. He lived in a cave with a nurse for 3 years, and when he came out, he began to reflect on creation. He first worshipped the moon because its light pierced the darkness. When he saw how its power waned at sunrise, he turned to the sun. But the sun too lost its power at sunset. Thus he discovered that no celestial body could be divine because each was dependent on a higher order. Ultimately, he concluded that there must be one master who had not only created the cosmos, but who continually sustains it. This creator provides every creature with what it needs, in goodness and justice, even the wicked and the idol worshippers. The rabbis used such stories not only to affirm the existence of God, but also to challenge pagans. When Emperor Hadrian asked Rabbi Jehoshua ben Hananiah to show him God, the rabbi replied that this was impossible. When the emperor insisted, The rabbi asked him to look directly into the sun. The emperor could not do so. "If you cannot even look at the servant of the Holy One," said the rabbi, "how much less can you look at the Holy One himself?" Thus it becomes clear that God's invisibility is not an absence, but a consequence of his exaltedness. Atheism, in the dogmatic sense, is scarcely found in the Bible and the Talmud. What is feared is not the intellectual denial of God, but the practical atheist, someone who lives as if there were no moral accountability. The Bible calls such a person a navel, a morally depraved person who does know that there is a creator, but refuses to believe that this creator cares about human deeds. The Talmud uses the word apikoros for someone who rejects the foundations of religion. According to the rabbis, an atheist is someone who denies that there is a judge of the universe. Rabbi Reuben illustrated this by saying that no one rejects the commandments without first rejecting the giver of the commandments. The denial of God is therefore not merely an intellectual error, but a moral act, a refusal to acknowledge responsibility. That is why the declaration, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one," forms the heart of the Jewish faith. It is not merely a theological proposition, but an act of submission to divine rule. To acknowledge God means to accept his yoke, to embrace his discipline, and to live in the awareness that the world is not a matter of chance, but is sustained by a will that continually creates and sustains it.